Hi everyone. We are continuing the discussion on the Giffen Goods particularly, and we have already discussed what are Giffen Goods, and if you want to refer to that video, the link is there in the description box. Also, we have seen what is income effect and what is substitution effect. In this video, we will see how Giffen goods, normal goods and inferior goods are different from each other. Okay, so I'm just writing that our discussion will be on what is a normal good. We will see what is a inferior good, and we will see what is a Giffen good. So friends, for your reference, we have already discussed what is Giffen goods, and we have seen in this context what is Giffen paradox. So friends, in this video we are going to distinguish what are normal goods, what are inferior goods, and what are Giffen goods. So let's start. Now, how we define these three types of goods, we will have the understanding from the very basic what is law of demand. Law of demand says that as price increases, demand falls, and when the price falls, demand increases. First step. We understood the first step. This is our law of demand. Second step. Second step we have understood in our previous video, but let's summarize. We have seen that when there are two commodities, here we have X and here we have Y, when the price of X falls, if the price of X falls, we know that the demand for X will also rise. We know that. So suppose this was the quantity of X that we were consuming, but since the price has reduced, so we are going to consume some more because X has become cheaper, so we will increase the consumption from OX1 to OX2. This increase in the quantity demanded of a commodity because in the fall in price is known as price effect. The second thing is understood. Okay, what is the price effect? Price effect means when the price of a commodity falls, the demand for that commodity increases. So when I say OX1 was my original quantity, OX2 is my new quantity. So what is my price effect? The price effect is this much. That is how much my demand has increased due to the fall in the price. This is the second thing that we understood. The third thing that we have to understand is that the price effect can be broken down into income effect and the substitution effect. Let's understand what is income effect and substitution effect, though we have covered this in the previous video. Let's understand what is income effect. The income effect is that, suppose, for that you have to understand it this way. Suppose the consumer has a budget. Okay, say for example, the consumer has a budget that he can spend this much. This is my budget line B1B. BB1 is my budget line. Okay. Now what happens? This is the point where my indifference curve is tangent. So I have indifference curve 1. What is indifference curve? For time being, forget. If you want to know, there is a video you can watch, but for time being I will recommend don't deal into this IC. IC means this is a curve which shows combination of commodity X and Y, which gives the consumer the same amount of satisfaction. Now if I can take this combination, I can take this combination, I can take this combination, any point in this curve I can choose. But I will choose that point where the budget line means how much I can buy, and this one is tangent. This is the best combination. So I am here. Now friends, as I have decrease, since the price of X has decreased, so I will reduce my consumption. I'll increase the consumption of X. So I have the now. So what is happening here is that because my price of X has reduced, so I can afford more of X, means I can buy more of X. My purchasing power for X has increased, so my budget line will rotate this side. Okay, my budget line will rotate this side. Now friends, I am saying rotate. Why I am saying rotate? Because this point is not changing, because the price of Y is unaffected, so that's why this point is not changing. I am just rotating this line this side, because my affordability to buy X was maximum this, now I can buy this much. Okay, so I am moving from BB1 to BB2 as my new budget line. So friends, when I move to a new budget line, so this much quantity of Y I was demanding, but now I will demand more of X. So suppose I am here, so I move to a new indifference curve, this one, and my new quantity demanded is this. Say, oh, this was OX1, now I am OX2. Okay, so I have moved to a new point OX2. Earlier I was in equilibrium at point E1. Now I am at equilibrium at point E2. Okay, now see, this shift in the quantity from OX1 to OX2 is because of the change in the price of X. Because of the change in the price of X, my commodity demanded of X has increased from OX1 to OX2. Right? So what is the difference? The difference is this one. As I said, this is the price effect. Okay? This much is my price effect. Now friends, as I told you, this price effect has to be now broken down into income and substitution effect. For that, we follow the Hicksian or Hicks substitution theorem. He says that when the price of a commodity falls, that means the price of X has reduced, then what has happened, you know? My purchasing power of X increases. I can purchase more of X. And when I can purchase more of X, I can say my real income has increased, means my purchasing power has increased. Okay. Now, Hicks says that let's not increase the purchasing power and let's keep the purchasing power constant. Okay. And if I keep the purchasing power constant, that means let's not change the purchasing power, then what I will do is that I will try to draw another budget line, and that budget line will be drawn in such a manner that it will be parallel to the new budget line. Okay, it will be somehow drawn like this. Okay, I don't know whether you can make out or not. This is the dark line that I am drawing. Now when I draw the dark line, I will draw it in such a manner that it touches my previous indifference curve in some point. This was my IC1, this was my IC1, the previous indifference curve. So my new, the dark color line has touched it in this point. Okay, I extend it below. Now when I extend it below, I get another commodity. I am naming it as X3. Now what is the meaning of it? So I am moving from E2 to E3. The meaning of this is that this total area was my price effect. But because I have reduced the purchasing power, as a result of this, I shifted from E2 to E3, and this difference is known as the income effect. This part is known as the income effect. Okay. So I repeat. So what is my price effect? Price effect is I was originally buying OX1, but because the price of X is reduced, so I am buying OX2. So the difference between OX1 and OX2 is X1 and X2. Okay. Now what is income effect? Income effect is, what was my price effect? X1, X2. Just now we have calculated. From there I am minusing this part. What I am minusing? X1, X3. When I minus X1, X3, what I get is X3, X2. So I get X3, X2. So this is your income effect. Okay friends, this is your income effect. Now comes substitution effect. Now what is substitution effect? Substitution effect means, you can see one thing, that when I was originally buying this much was my quantity of OY. But since I am in point E, so my quantity has dropped from OY1 to OY0. So that means, because I was buying this much of Y, but now I have shifted to this much of Y, so this much minus this much, that means this and this portion, this I would just make a curve here, this portion is known as your substitution effect. I know that the graph is clumsy, but I have already made this video earlier, you can refer to it. So substitution effect is equals to, so what is your price effect? Price effect is X1, X2. When you minus the income effect, what was the income effect? X3, X2, then what you get is X1, X3. This is your substitution effect. So friends, done. We understood what is income effect and what is substitution effect. Now friends, we have to now understand what are normal goods. In case of normal goods, remember, in case of normal goods, your substitution effect is always positive. What does this mean? This means that as the price of a commodity falls, then we are trying to buy more of that commodity because it becomes cheaper than that of the other. So the substitution effect is positive, because when the price is dropping for X, then I will switch over from Y to X. So substitution effect is always positive. As you can see, we have reduced Y and we have increased X. So this is a positive thing. But what is income effect in case of a normal good? In case of a normal good, income effect is also positive, because as we increase the income, the demand for that commodity also increases. So the income effect is positive in case of a normal good. The income effect is positive. Coming to what are inferior goods? Inferior goods are those goods. So we have understood what is the income effect, income and substitution effects in case of a normal good. So same phenomenon, if the good is normal, then the income effect will be positive, because as income rises, people will buy more of that commodity. Okay. Now let's understand what is an inferior good. Inferior goods are those goods which are substandard, which are like mainly those goods which are low in quality. So obviously in our life we have some such quantity, I mean some such commodity which are inferior. Okay. And generally when we talk about inferior good, we talk it in reference to low quality goods. Okay. Now coming to inferior goods, whenever we talk about inferior good, the substitution effect is positive. Of course, the substitution effect will be positive, because as the price, suppose we have two commodities, X and Y, and X is an inferior goods and Y is not an inferior, say normal goods. Now if X is an inferior goods and if the price of X falls, okay, obviously we will buy a little more of X. We will buy more of X, because X is becoming more cheaper, so I will buy little more of X, but I will not buy too much of X also. Okay. Now the question is, whenever we are talking about income effect and substitution effect, Income effect means we are reducing the price of the goods, as a result our purchasing power increases. Okay, we are buying more of that, we have the capacity to buy more of that commodity, so that is known as real income. So our real income increases when we talk about income effect. But when we talk about substitution effect, that when the price of a commodity falls, it becomes cheaper as compared to the other commodity. So remember, when we are talking about an inferior goods, the substitution effect is positive. Of course, if the price falls, we'll buy some more of inferior goods. Now, but the income effect is negative. What does this mean? We have understood here that as income increases, people will buy more of it, but as income falls, people will buy less of it. But in case of an inferior good, what happens? As income increases, we will be not buying more of the inferior goods. Rather, we will try to have some more superior goods or normal goods. Obviously, in our life, we have got some such products which are inferior in quality. But since my income has increased, so I will switch over to some more such goods which are superior in quality, and I will reduce my demand for inferior goods. For example, if I am traveling by public transport, because I have less income, I cannot buy a car, so my transport that I am going through, let us consider to be an inferior goods. But as my salary increases or my income increases, or maybe for some reason my purchasing power increases, then instead of traveling by a public transport, I may switch over to a better mode of transport, maybe a private transport, right? So that means here the income has increased, but the demand for public transport has reduced. So here the income effect is negative. That means with a rise in income, the demand for that product does not rise, rather it falls, because we have the tendency to switch over to a better product. Now coming to Giffen products. Now what are Giffen products? Giffen products are the type of inferior products. Okay, it is also a type of inferior products, but it is much more inferior. Okay, if this is inferior, it is most inferior product. Now what will happen in case of Giffen products? Giffen products also substitution effect is positive, okay, but income effect is also negative. Then what is the difference between the two? Both look same, inferior goods and Giffen goods looks the same. Now comes the most important part, and that is the conclusion of this discussion today. That is, in case of inferior goods, okay friends, in case of inferior goods, we have the substitution effect, we have the income effect, but your substitution effect is greater than income effect, so that it in a sense it nullifies or it neutralizes the income effect, right? Because if you have income effect, you will try to switch over. If you have more income effect, what is happening in substitution effect? You are trying to switch over to more of commodity X, because commodity X is the inferior. Because its price has fallen, so we will demand more of commodity X. That's why it's a substitution effect is positive. Okay, but what is happening with the income effect? In case of inferior goods, as income increases, the demand for the inferior goods will fall. So that's why it's a negative relationship. It's a negative. Substitution effect means when the price falls, I will buy more of this. But as the price rises, I will buy less of it. So it's a positive relationship. But income effect is negative in case of inferior goods. I already told you why. Now the question is, in this case, in case of inferior goods, your substitution effect is also there, income effect is also there. But the substitution effect is stronger than the income effect. Okay, your income effect gets suppressed by the substitution effect. But in case of Giffen Goods, you have the substitution effect, you have the income effect, but your income effect is stronger than the substitution effect. That means as your income rises, you will buy less of that commodity and you will switch over to more of the normal goods. When the price of the inferior commodity falls, okay, as the price of the inferior commodity falls, you will have the demand for the commodity X also falling. When you have, this is demand and this is price, when the price of the commodity X rises, you will have demand of that commodity also rising. So what is happening here? Because as price jo bhi ho, I mean whatever it is, you consider this, what it shows, it is a positive relationship. What it shows, it is a positive relationship. So that's why in case of a given good, the demand curve, instead of sloping downwards, it slopes upward. It shows a positive relationship between the price and demand. And why this positive relationship? Because income effect is more stronger to suppress the substitution effect, and that's why it is an upward sloping curve. But in case of inferior goods, the substitution effect is more dominating the income effect, which does not allow the demand curve to slope upwards, and that is the reason the inferior goods is a little different than Giffen Goods. But all Giffen Goods are inferior, but all inferior goods are not Giffen Goods. So friends, I hope you got the meaning out of it. Do comment if you have any more queries. Maybe somewhere you want some improvements in my lecture, you may comment on it. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.